Joining us now, Congressman Mike Turner of Ohio. He's the top Republican on the House Intelligence Committee and also a member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. You've said you think it's important that Pelosi travel to Taiwan despite the pressure from the Chinese government and discouraging words from the Biden administration. Why is it important?
Well, you've seen most recently from Nancy Pelosi this, this world of travel that focuses on this issue, as she described in her Washington Post op-ed, of democracy against authoritarian regimes, where she went to Ukraine, met with Zelensky in Kyiv. Now she's gone to Taiwan. In both, she's called out Russia and China aggressors and self-identified adversity to the United States from both of them. What we're seeing, though, here is a Pelosi, even with criticism from the White House, of taking these steps to do so. What I'm hopeful is that this is going to be an opportunity that when she comes back to Washington, we might be able to have a bipartisan initiative to restore some of the cuts to defense spending that Pelosi's been leading in the House, to look at ways in which we can strengthen our military. She made some pretty strong statements in that Washington Post op-ed about coming to the defense of Taiwan. I think it's time now for us to have a bipartisan initiative in the House to give the military what they need in case we are in a situation of a conflict with either Russia or China and our allies.
So in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, they're considering legislation that would provide Taiwan with nearly $4.5 billion in security assistance over the next 4 years. It would also classify Taiwan as a major non-NATO ally. Is that something you would support? And how does that impact the one China principle, which is a principle the United States, adheres to, which is that Taiwan is part of China?
Right, and as you know, that comes out of Jimmy Carter's policies from his era. I think we certainly are in a situation where, especially we have China's aggressiveness, its threats to our country, its threats to Taiwan and others, its modernization of its nuclear weapons programs, what it's doing in investing and expanding its military, its militarization of space, that we need to take a relook at how do we address the issue of China now as an aggressor state, as an authoritarian regime that threatens democracy. So these are all possibilities for us to do. I think number one, though, under Pelosi's House, they just put a $70 billion cut in the U.S. defense budget, and also cut some of the modernizations for our nuclear weapons that were planned, not expanding our nuclear weapons capabilities as China is doing, where they're massively expanding their nuclear weapons capabilities, but just even modernizing what we currently have. We need to make certain we focus on our military, because these threats from Russia and China and to our adversaries, they're looking at what we're doing. We need to make certain that we strengthen ourselves.
I want to get your reaction to something former Democratic Senator and U.S. Ambassador to China under Obama, Max Baucus, told me yesterday. Take a listen.
They may decide, contrary to U.S. treaties to China, where we've asked China not to help Russia in Ukraine, they may decide, what the heck, you can't depend upon U.S. anymore, so we might start helping Russia.
The basic argument, and we've heard that from people at the Biden administration too, is that China has been mostly neutral in the war of Russia against Ukraine, despite calls from Zelensky and others to oppose Russia, but poking a finger in the eye of China could cause China to support Russia much, much more than they have.
Well, I think China's response on Russia has been largely because they didn't expect, nor did Russia, that there would be a unified worldwide outcry to the invasion of Ukraine and to the atrocities that are occurring there. I don't think China is doing us any favor in this, just because we believe that Russia's aggressor and of course, are supporting Ukraine in this. If China was really looking at how they could have, leverage the United States, they would denuclearize North Korea, which they're not doing at all, and they have certainly the power and the authority to do. That's something certainly is a direct threat to the United States, and if they wanted to show that they could be a partner, then certainly that's a good place for them to have started.
So you released a statement applauding the success of the drone strike that Biden ordered that killed Ayman al-Zawahiri, but you also said that the strike in Kabul reveals the U.S.'s failure to address rising threats in Afghanistan because al-Zawahiri felt comfortable enough to be in downtown Kabul. The Biden administration would say in response that, hey, this strike proves that we can wage war against terrorists without American troops on the ground. What would you say to that?
Well, this strike, where there's one individual that is targeted, where the intelligence community does a holistic triage of where is this person, locates them, and has the ability to reach out and touch them. is a capability that we've always had in our counterterrorism strategy. What the president claimed he was going to have with his haphazard withdrawal from Afghanistan was what he called over the horizon, which was actually supposed to be an ability to degrade terrorist organizations' ability to operate in Afghanistan and come to the level of being a threat to the United States. And taking out one man is not that over the horizon capability. What the administration has failed to do is recognize Al-Qaeda is there. Al-Qaeda was there when the president made the statement that they were gone. And they have yet to provide to Congress what is their plan? How are they going to ensure that terrorist organizations that we know are there are not going to grow and grow in their threats to the United States? And I think that's where the president now needs to focus, is how do we ensure that with the resources that we have, that the White House targets actually terrorist organizations and groups to degrade their capabilities.
Lastly, sir, I just want to ask, I know you disagree with a lot that Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and President Biden are pushing forward, but I couldn't help but notice in the last year, there have really been a number of very big, consequential, bipartisan bills. You've supported some of them. There's the infrastructure bill, the PACT Act to help veterans, the CHIPS bill, the gun safety bill. In fact, I think did you vote for all four of those? It's possible you did.
I didn't vote for the infrastructure bill.
Okay, but you voted for three of the four.
No.
We're seeing Congress working. And again, I know you disagree with a lot that the Democrats are doing, but that's something to celebrate, I think.
Well, yes, but there does need to be a look here just a little bit further, and that is take the CHIPS Act, for example. That is a bill that should have had much more wider bipartisan support, but unfortunately on the House side and on the Senate side, it became a partisan football. When it came out of the House, it wasn't even able to be a bipartisan vote at all, and when it came back, we could have been in a situation where if they're really working across the aisle, that we could have had much greater support. Now, the gun bill itself is something that, as you know, came out of a bipartisan group working in the Senate, not initiative from the White House, bipartisan group, and then gained broader support when it was first voted on in the House. Again, it was much more partisan. Then it came back as a bipartisan bill. I think what people need to know is that every day there really is bipartisan work that's happening in the House. There certainly is a partisan flavor that we all see on television, but there is bipartisan work that's being done. There does need to be more of it, and that does require that people talk to each other and people work together.
All right, Congressman Mike Turner, thank you so much. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you.